Get inside the NHL.
Under the bar for a goal.
You guys know what a Hamlet JP is?
11. Come with me.
Host Bill Clement shows you the hidden world of hockey on NHL All Access. Available on home video and DVD. You'll see the NHL like never before. Follow Patrick Waugh throughout his record-breaking day. Relive Wayne Gretzky's emotional farewell. And experience Mario Lemieux's historic return with never-before-seen All Access footage. Order your copy of NHL All Access now. It's your pass to the game behind the game.
Breakaway, showtime, he scores!
The Board of Governors of the National Hockey League have granted conditional franchises to the applicants representing the City of Ottawa.
It was a combination of elation, relief, anticipation, disbelief, and satisfaction, I think, all bundled up to one.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 1992-93 Ottawa Senators! This game is in the books. Get across the Virginia! They're going to the playoffs in Ottawa! He scored! Derek Plant on the turnover!
We knew it wasn't going to be easy, but we knew that we were gaining respect for our team in the National Hockey League.
Ottawa advances to the next round of the playoffs.
Ottawa is now one of the NHL elite.
Good afternoon. It is a bumper day for hockey fans in the National Capital Area today. An Ottawa company has gone public with plans for an NHL franchise for the city.
Non, les sénateurs à Ottawa, tel est le thème d'une vaste campagne publicitaire visant à doter la capitale canadienne d'une équipe professionnelle dans la Ligue nationale de hockey.
The man behind a bid for an NHL expansion franchise is 37-year-old Bruce Firestone, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Terrace Investments Limited.
Ottawa, the nation's capital and the fourth largest metropolitan market in Canada, is home to Parliament. It's a city Canada turns to when tough decisions have to be made. It's also a city that had been without an NHL franchise since the original Senators, winners of 9 Stanley Cups, left for St. Louis in 1934. Now, Firestone wanted to revive the Senators and bring NHL hockey back to the nation's capital. But there was a lot of work to be done before making the dream a reality.
Terrace Investments believes it must satisfy the NHL on at least 3 criteria: strength of ownership, a state-of-the-art facility, and strong community support.
Firestone put a staff in place that worked non-stop. Designs were developed for the Palladium, a world-class 18,500-seat palace that would replace the 10,000-seat Civic Center as the Senators' home. The final piece to the puzzle was community support. Ottawa's corporate sector was eager to get behind the bid. But the public, they weren't so quick to believe.
At the beginning, nobody was sure that this was for real, that we were really making an application, that the people who were behind it could possibly pull it off. There were more skeptics.
Support grew slowly, and events were staged to build public approval.
He asked us to all turn the lights on in our homes and turn on the appliances to show that Ottawa was supported by a surge in the hydro bill. And my son and I were going around the house turning on the appliances and the lights, and my wife was tackling us as we were going along, turning them off.
With everything falling in place, it was off to the 1990 winter meetings in Palm Beach, Florida, to await word on whether Ottawa's bid for a return to the NHL would be accepted.
One governor came up and he put his face very close to mine and he said, I just want you to know one thing, Mr. Firestone. I said, well, what's that? And he said, you'll never, ever, ever get a franchise in Ottawa.
Undaunted, Firestone and Company kept at it till the afternoon of December 6th, 1990.
We were told that there'd be an announcement at 1, and I asked what announcement. We didn't know, and we were told to wait in our suite.
We estimated that would be sometime in the afternoon, so we had hours to spare. I went for a walk on the golf course.
And then NHL security came along.
And all of a sudden, I receive a call, you have to be back in Bruce's Bruce's room right away. We've been called by the governors.
Conducted us through a back fire stair into the basement of the Breakers Hotel in Palm Beach.
And none of this made sense. It was very highly secretive.
We were in the basement, the pipes were there, the potato peelings and the garbage there, and it didn't look too good.
We were brought into this big luxurious room with lobster and shrimp, and it was a magnificent spread. And I thought, you know, well, maybe they're just going to feed us and say, thanks, guys, you did a great job, and have a safe trip home.
Marcel Lebeau, who was the owner of the Quebec Nordiques, came up and said, "Félicitations, mon ami." Congratulations, my friend. And we thought he was congratulating us on a good try. And then we went up to the front of the room, and John Ziegler was there.
The Board of Governors today have granted conditional franchises beginning in the 1992-93 season to the applicants representing the City of Ottawa.
Randy Sexton must have jumped 4 feet in the air.
It was a combination of elation, relief, anticipation, disbelief, and satisfaction, I think, all bundled up to one. But in reality, the work had only just started.
While the city celebrated its return to the NHL, ownership had little time to rejoice. There were tickets to sell, an arena to build, and a team to assemble.
The first GM was Mel Bridgman, and the coach, Rick Bowness. In the expansion draft, Ottawa claimed veterans such as Laurie Boschman, Brad Shaw, and Peter Sidorkiewicz. By now, Ottawa was ablaze with Sens fever, and when the team headed to Montreal for its first ever entry draft, the Draft Express was created.
It was always our strategy and our philosophy that an organization had to reach deeply into the community. And what started out as securing a couple of passenger cars
turned into 12 or 15 passenger cars. They closed down some streets in Montreal. We had the Ottawa Fire Department marching band, and we put together an entire Ottawa-based procession that marched from the train station to the forum for the draft.
There was a lot of excitement because it was an expansion franchise, and hockey had come back to the city, and so there was a lot of excitement, and we as players picked up on that.
We thought it would be fun to take some of our fans to our first preseason game ever, which was in Hartford. We ended up chartering a 747 and taking some of the front office staff as a little reward, and for the most part, up between 150 and 200 fans.
With the pieces assembled, the clock ticked down towards Ottawa's official return to the National Hockey League.
There were people in the community, organizations in the community who started to organize their own Senators-focused events, which then started to feed upon itself, so that the entire community was whipped into a frenzy waiting for that first game.
Let the games begin. L'Empire romain fut bâti par des hommes de courage, de force, des gens dévoués à leur communauté, des qualités que vous retrouverez chez le club de hockey, les Sénateurs d'Ottawa.
I remember going into the dressing room the night of our first game, a Montreal-Ottawa game, a great rivalry about to be reborn after 60 years. The last Sens-Canadian game had taken place in the 30s.
It's showtime!
It was electrifying. We had Centurion pillars come down, the Coliseum pillar type things come down on the ice, and skaters dressed up in Roman garb, and it was very exciting. Yeah, the music was great, the light show was great.
Well, I don't know what Ottawa Senators are going to do for the rest of the evening, but so far, Ottawa has done a first-class job.
Ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, the 1992-93 Ottawa Senators!
With the curtain about to drop on the opening ceremony and nearly 6 decades since the last NHL game, it was time to drop the puck.
And after 58 years away from it, they're into it. Brady looks back to Shaw. Shaw to the underside. The Keimer side of the net pass.
Well, that was electrifying. That was something else. That was, in fact, you know, a lot of people don't remember him because he was there just that one season for us. He scored that very memorable goal.
I remember being in the box and we were hugging each other. I remember seeing fans standing and pumping their arms in the air. And this was more than just the Ottawa Senators. This was Ottawa versus Montreal, the cities.
10 minutes later, the league's newest franchise took a 2-goal lead over the NHL's most successful.
Luongo got it out for Ottawa, and 3 of them move up. Snell cutting in!
8 months later, the Canadiens would capture their 24th Stanley Cup. More championships than any other professional sports franchise. But opening night was all Senators.
The block, another shot. Stop, rebound, score! They built it in. Waugh didn't know where it was. 3-1 Ottawa. Rumble is pitching in there. Bumping his neck picture. Remember, Waugh's on the bench. Ottawa's shot. Snail. Empty net goal. And that will do it. This game is in the books. Ottawa wins it. 3, defeating the Montreal Canadiens. How about that?
Time's the parade tomorrow morning, 10:15, right down the main street of Ottawa, celebrating the first win in 58 years.
And it was almost this emotional outpouring of pent-up elation across the entire community. And for the folks who had an opportunity to actually be there for the first game, it was something, a memory they'll have forever. It was just simply exhilarating.
Ottawa learned that repeat performances would not come easily. They went winless in their next 22 games and did not record a road victory until April.
We were quite excited that we started the year off with a win, but then we knew that we'd have to turn the page, and we were looking forward to what the rest of the year had held, and it wasn't pretty generally.
Ottawa Senators have not won in a long, long time.
I think we lost something like 16 or 17 one-goal games. We just didn't have the pure talent to keep up with some of the teams. We could work with them and hustle with them, but you just need those natural goal scorers that are going to win you those close games.
The Senators would go on to win 10 games in their inaugural season, but nothing would compare to the memories of the 8th of October, when the Ottawa Senators rejoined the NHL.
In the paper the next day it says, Rome was built in a day.
Well, that game is, and that memory is something I'll take to my grave.
Here is McIver trying to get through, but it is knocked loose by the defense. Yashin a shot. Oh, and he scores!
Years 2 and 3 saw Ottawa continue to build. With center Alexei Yashin in the fold, the team drafted 2 more promising forwards in Alexandre Daigle and Radek Bonk. Though Ottawa suffered through its share of growing pains, their young guns showed flashes of brilliance.
Forward on the power play. In the Daigle shot. Score, Yashin from Daigle.
Récupéré par Alexei Yashin. Yashin contourne le filet, plutôt Escarret. Un tir! La petite commotion ici dans la foule. On va tenter d'identifier ceux qui ont lancé ces fruits de mer là, sur la patinoire. Le but! Alexandre Daigle! Je pense que son troisième.
We had taken advice from Glenn Sather and Sam Pollock and a few others, Bill Torrey, and they said really the only way to build a good team, and maybe even a very good team, is through the draft. You can't really do it through the free agent route. And so we decided to follow that, and it meant we needed patience.
Ottawa's first ever draft choice, Alexei Yashin, was selected to play in the 1994 All-Star Game in New York, where he made his mark.
Now they're pulling out the stops. Sackey coming in again. Yashin scores! 9-8 with 3:42 left.
Alexei Yashin, the top rookie scorer in the National Hockey League.
The 1995-96 season would be pivotal for Ottawa, both on and off the ice. As the Senators continued to work on building the team, they worked on the new building as well.
The process for getting the building approved and the zoning was more difficult than actually building it itself. It was quite a number of hurdles. There was over 90 approvals we required.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now declare this facility officially open.
Just 18 months after the initial groundbreaking, the Palladium was open for hockey.
We had waited a long time for the Palladium to be built, and when it finally was, and we moved into it, took to the ice the first game. I mean, this arena was one of the best in the league.
It's an outstanding building. It changed dramatically the perception that Ottawa had of that team and its prospects. And I think it changed the team's view of itself to say this is a world-class, first-class facility, and we really can be a winner in this city and in this building.
Though the Senators lost the opener to Montreal, the fans had plenty to cheer about in Game 2.
Alfredson jammed it loose. Here's an open man in front. He shoots, he scores! Steve Duchesne stuck in from the point, was all alone.
He scores the first goal for the Senators in this brand new Palladium in only their second game.
When I scored that goal, they were so loud in there. It felt like my first goal, like I'm coming up to the league here, my first game in the big league, and scoring a goal has lasted for, I mean, it seems forever, and it was great. It was really exciting to be part of it.
Despite a new building and enthused fans, the team had yet to win on a consistent basis. So in came a new general manager, Pierre Gauthier.
I feel confident, and obviously, even though the record might not indicate as many wins as you want, is that we can make the Senators a competitive club within a reasonable time and go forward and build it to the objectives we want.
And it didn't take long for Gauthier to make changes.
After about 3 games, he turned to me and says, "We got to make some wholesale changes here." We didn't even make the 3rd period and flew back to Ottawa. Next thing you knew, Jacques Martin was the coach and the assistants were cleaned out and the 5-year plan began.
I was very enthusiastic about Jacques coming in. First, he had an excellent record as a coach who was also a teacher. And we had a young team that we wanted to keep mainly that young team together and let it grow and get better and add to it as we could. But it really was a growing and teaching process, and Jacques was the perfect coach in that environment.
We had so many good young players. They were looking basically for some direction, establishing some goals that were achievable for them, trying to teach them how to win. That was the step number 1 in that first year.
Ottawa with 6 skaters coming at the Leafs. Down the boards and coming in is Bond. In front of them, it's goal! They tie with 9.7 seconds left.
The team began to gel under Martin, winning 10 games down the stretch. The last game of the season pitted Ottawa against the Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, who needed a win to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Bonk able to take it from him out in front, and a save made by Robert. They score! The Senators have tied the game. Randy Cunneyworth slugs one in front. They score! Daniel Alfredson on a deflection. Yashin bringing it on, has a man up the wing. It's Picard, and a shrub shoulder save. Another shot. They score! Tom Jaworski has gotten his second of the game, and it may very well be the one that buries the hopes of his former team. The season for the Devils ends. Senators 5 and the Devils 2.
Daniel Alfredson's game winner, one of 26 goals on the season, helped him capture the Calder Trophy as the league's top rookie.
Though they had yet to make the playoffs in their first 4 seasons in the league, the Senators were starting to make waves. They had a Calder Trophy winner, an All-Star, and they had ended the reign of the Stanley Cup champions. The 1996-97 season seemed to be a good time for the Senators to finally break into playoff contention. But the first half of the season didn't go according to plan.
The wheels are coming off the Senators right here, and it goes from bad to worse for the Senators.
We're struggling right now, and we're very young, including me. We're trying sometimes to do too much. You want to do the job of somebody else instead of doing your own job, and that's been the problem with us so far.
The Senators have dropped to last place in the Northeast Division standings.
Despite their struggles, the team didn't fold.
Everybody counted us out, and it was like we were using that for determination for us to get in.
And slowly, the Senators started to win.
Applique les genoux devant Colley-Moore, long passe vers Duchesne, à Dagley, le but!
5 seconds left, his shot safe, he's a rebound, a save, another shot, they score! It's gonna count! The Senators have tied it with 1.5 seconds remaining!
Another battle won by the Senators.
As we got a little bit of success, players enjoy that success, enjoy winning, understand what kind of commitment, the price they have to pay.
We're coming of age. I thought that the young players were turning into stars, and we're finding some leadership in players like Randy Cunneyworth.
I can recall a player like Steve Duchesne.
He lifted his game, I think, to a new level, and he really helped make a lot of people around him better.
Playing with a newfound confidence, the Senators challenged for a postseason berth. The regular season finale would decide their fate.
John, the task is quite simple for Ottawa. Win and they're in the playoffs. If they lose, they no longer control their destiny. This game may very well rank as the biggest in franchise history.
The crowd on its feet. They're screaming at the top of their lungs now.
The atmosphere in the Corral Center was just outstanding. You could feel the tension.
There was so much electricity in the arena.
Stepping out on the ice with the towels flying, it's pretty awesome.
All the way back to the line, Alfredson shoots and works his way in, long shot.
First period, no scoring.
Drops it off for Peckham. To York, there's a shot.
Second period, no scoring. And the goalies were just stopping them right and left.
Puck in front of the net, big save. Reaching in is Duchesne, going in the lungs. Saved by Hunt.
It was like Dominic Hasek was standing at the end of the rink and he was going, "I am not letting you guys beat me."
I was sitting there going, you got to be kidding me, you know, they're not getting any shots, and I was really not wanting to give one up because I knew that would probably be the end.
The game seemed destined for overtime, but then with less than 5 minutes to go,
Yashin manages to poke it free but can't go towards the net. Yashin across, goes to Duchesne, scores!
The place just erupted, and it was absolute bedlam.
It was such a great feeling. I'm kind of getting goosebumps just thinking about that goal.
There was just something that was so magical about that moment. Everybody tried to just freeze frame it for a while.
10 seconds remaining. Hasek goes to the bench again. The puck is flipped out into the center ice area. They're going to the playoffs in Ottawa.
And the Ottawa Senators storm off the bench to congratulate their goaltender, Ron Tutner. The biggest victory in the Senators' history results in Ottawa being in the playoffs.
Well, these fans don't want to leave, JD, and they are standing as the players take a victory lap here at the Corral Center.
Sauter sur la patinoire, puis tout le monde avait des petits pompons blancs, et puis c'était très le monde, c'était incroyable comment ça criait, puis c'était fort, puis juste en parler maintenant, j'en ai encore la chair de poule.
the Senators had felt the Corral Center shake like never before. 10 days later, they felt it again.
One of the most memorable events would have to be the first playoff game in the Corral Center.
Look at this lineup this morning. 250 tickets were made available. That's it. They were gone in 4 minutes.
The fans are so loud. It's unbelievable. And you had goosebumps. I talk about it now and I still remember and I have goosebumps about it.
The shot's good! Maybe they'll get one here. Shot's good!
Playing with heart and determination, the Senators pushed the series to a decisive 7th game. However, the game would only provide heartbreak.
Playing up into the zone, has Barnaby with him. Drives the shot, goal! He scored! Derek playing on the turnover!
Well, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat.
Oh, that's tough for the poor guy. Wow.
The Ottawa Senators. Capable opponents, you bet your booty.
We had our chances and just couldn't quite get her done. It was a great experience for all of us. Most of us hadn't been through the playoffs too much.
We could see that we were progressing as an organization. We were going in the right direction.
And the Senators continued to succeed with their young guns as they made the playoffs again in 1998. This time, the #1 seeded New Jersey Devils awaited them.
There was an element of confidence within the team. We had had a good record against the Devils during the regular season. We felt confident about playing the New Jersey Devils.
And it's Laukkanen shooting, save, rebound, score! Bruce Gardner in sudden death overtime. The Senators pour off the bench. They have defeated the Devils in Game 1.
Laukkanen was scored earlier. Cross-ice, the shot, score!
further now by McEachern. McEachern fed one in front, and it's in! Here comes Alfredson on a steal. Shoot, score!
Having delivered Ottawa's first playoff hat trick in franchise history, Daniel Alfredson and the Senators now stood on the cusp of their first playoff series win. But the Devils would not go quietly, winning Game 5 and sending the series back to Ottawa.
We are set for Game 6 from a jam-packed Corel Center. Alfredson back to Yashin, walking out. Yashin looking for some room. It's Lukin and scores! Fans have paid their dues, so have the young Senators. They were too fast, too determined, and too gritty.
The feeling of achievement, here we are, just knocked off probably one of the best teams in the conference, and we were starting to figure that we were going to go a ways.
But there would be no Cinderella story this year. The Washington Capitals ended Ottawa's season in 5 games.
The Washington Capitals will advance to the 3rd round now for the first time since 1989. Jacques Martin has done a brilliant job with the Ottawa Senators. Congratulations to them as well.
Obviously there was disappointment, but we felt we could have gone a ways and that we were playing well.
We need to give credit to the Washington Capitals. They made it to the final of the Stanley Cup that year.
You dream, and those of us who are in the rink every night certainly dream big, and we perhaps dream with our hearts and not with our head.
Thinking back to the first day I walked in that dressing room and seeing those young men around the room, fear in their eyes, lack of direction, and to see how far they had come, it was really satisfying for a coach.
The Senators began the 98-99 season with new optimism, and a new GM, Rick Dudley, hoped to replicate his IHL success.
I'm not here to change things. I'm here to try to keep this franchise in the same direction that it's been going.
This year there would be no early slump. The Sens were among the league's best, and new captain Alexei Yashin led the way.
Yashin avec Dakol, Chelios dans le bord. Et la rencontre, quelle fête, quel but, Alexei Yashin.
A magnificent goal for the great star Yashin.
Yashin plus line mates Andreas Dackel and Sean McEachern combined to form the Ministry of Offense. But what set Ottawa apart was arguably the most dangerous checking line in the NHL. When Marian Hossa joined the team for good in December, he was paired with Radek Bonk and Magnus Arvidsson.
First year, I came after the injury, and the coach put me like the checking line, and we started playing pretty good hockey. We checked the opposition first lines, and that was kind of fun for me and a new experience for me.
This checking line has been nothing but spectacular.
And contributions came from unexpected sources. Andreas Johansson scored 21 goals, and when injuries struck the defense, rookies Patrick Traverse and Sami Salo filled in admirably in a core led by Wade Redden.
Some of the kids on defense, the Traverse and Salo move has been, what they've accomplished really is nothing short of amazing.
And between the pipes, the tandem of Damian Rhodes and Ron Tugnut gave Ottawa a chance to win every night. Tugnut was so impressive he joined Alexei Yashin at the 1999 All-Star Game.
Great save made by Ron Tugnut.
Unbelievable goaltending story in Ottawa.
After the break, the Sens continued to roll. The highlight of a successful March was a road victory against the eventual Stanley Cup champs.
The Ottawa Senators skate into Dallas and skate out with a huge victory.
As the playoffs approached, the eyes of the hockey world were focused on the Corel Center. Rumors had quickly spread that Wayne Gretzky would soon announce his retirement. If so, his April 15th game in Ottawa would be the Great One's last in Canada.
I don't even think the people realized on the way to the game was going to take place. Just I think the emotion of the whole night just kind of took over for everyone.
Spontaneously, the fans in this building have risen to their feet in salute
to the great Gretzky. What a wonderful move by the Ottawa players as Igor Kravchuk finally broke the ice and led the way over to say so long. No 3 stars tonight, just a single star, and it's Gretzky.
It was one of the great nights of my life, and people were just absolutely outstanding, and really was a wonderful night.
The following week, the Sens were back home to face Buffalo in the first round of the playoffs. But coming off their best regular season ever, the Northeast Division champs fell prey to the mastery of Dominik Hasek and a hungry group of Sabres.
Now a shot, they score! Miro Shatan ends it for Buffalo, and they go home, leading the series 2-0.
In Buffalo, the Senators never recovered, and their playoff hopes ended in 4 short games.
And the Buffalo Sabres have dusted off Ottawa and swept this first-round series. Well, it was a brilliant regular season for Ottawa. Comes to an end tonight.
Even with their first-round exit, the Senators could be proud of their 103-point season. Alexis Yashin was nominated for the Hart Trophy, Marian Hossa was nominated for the Calder, and Jacques Martin won the Jack Adams Award.
Mère qui est ici ce soir, mon frère et mes 2 sœurs, merci beaucoup pour votre support durant les temps difficiles. Thank you very much.
Yashin's appearance at the NHL Awards would be his last for some time. Though he had a year remaining on his contract, the second-team All-Star decided to sit out the entire 1999-2000 season. With Marshall Johnston just settling in as the new general manager, Ottawa forged ahead without their leading scorer.
It's a credit to Jacques that the effect on the team was really, I think, minimized just because of Jacques' approach that had been in place right from the start. It wasn't that he all of a sudden did something different to deal with the Alexis Yashin situation. But we seemed to be able to put that aside, and it never seemed to be a front and center issue with the team.
With their captain gone, Coach Martin awarded the C to 2-time All-Star Daniel Alfredsson, who provided the calm during the storm.
Without question, he has taken responsibility of the C. His leadership abilities in the locker room have been absolutely marvelous.
And on the ice, Yashin's absence created chances for many to step up. After years of taking heat in the capital city, Radek Bonk embraced his assignment as the #1 center, making the All-Star team in the process.
With Yash not being, with us, and I got more responsibility on the offense too. I got a lot of ice time. I play power plays.
Radek Bonk's having a career year.
And line mate Marian Hossa was emerging as one of the league's young stars.
Redden down low, Bonk, Hossa, his shot, scores! Marian Hossa!
Hossa, when you watch this youngster, second year, watch him come off the boards, he is so strong.
No sophomore jinx going on here.
Almost to a man, the Senators picked up the slack. But though Ottawa was competitive on the ice, their economic issues made a franchise move an increasing possibility.
But just when things were looking their worst, the fans in the entire city of Ottawa rallied together.
By your presence here today, we're going to ensure, all of us collectively are going to keep them here. We're not going to let them go. It's not go, Sens, go. It's stay, Sens, stay. Stay, Sens, stay.
The response was overwhelming, and on February 18th, 2000, Rod Brydon delivered the news everyone was hoping for.
Thanks to you, the fans, to the business community, and to the commitment of this community, that we can all look forward to NHL hockey in Ottawa for many, many years to come.
With all the turmoil that had surrounded the team, the Senators still piled up a respectable 95 points. As the number 6 seed, the Sens' first-round playoff opponent was Toronto, beginning a natural rivalry that engaged fans all across Ontario.
Every newspaper front page, every newscast, every day, it's been the story here in Ontario. Leafs, Senators.
After the Leafs won the first 2 at home, the Sens rebounded to tie the series. But when the teams headed back to Toronto for Game 5, it was the beginning of the end.
Harrison circling to Thomas. Toronto leads the series!
The Ottawa Senators season will come to an end on home ice.
After the second straight first-round defeat, decisions needed to be made. Tom Barrasso was not re-signed, and the new #1 goalie would be Patrick Lalime, whose perseverance had finally paid off.
Dans le fond de moi, je savais que j'étais capable de faire le travail. C'était juste d'avoir la chance de pouvoir le montrer à tout le monde encore.
But the big news of the offseason was an arbitrator's ruling that Alexei Yashin could not become a restricted free agent until he honored the final year of his contract. Soon after, Yashin reported to camp.
I will do my best for my team, for my teammates, because I have no problem with anybody in Ottawa and anywhere else.
There was nothing personal with Alexei. He happens to be a tremendous young man. You're a very personable guy. He's done a lot in the community that people don't even know about. Second of all, he's an elite player. He's a great player. He's one of the top 10 players in the National Hockey League. He's an asset to the team, and you have to monitor that and what it means to the overall success of the team.
After returning to Ottawa, Alexei did not receive a hero's welcome, but he did make the Senators a better team.
I think our season this year with the return of Alexei really gave us more depth as an offensive team, and I think we were the third best team in the league as far as goals for.
There's a look at Radek Bonk and Marian Hossa. They're lucky enough to have Jacques Martin as their head coach coming into this All-Star game today.
One hallmark of Martin's success is his confidence in rookies. Several freshmen received considerable ice time, and the cream of the crop, 19-year-old Czech sensation, Martin Havlat.
Tell you what, again, we see Martin Havlat not back down from anyone. No matter Mark Messier, a team's tough guy, whoever, he stands right in there.
How about this Havlat kid? This is unbelievable.
I think he's best summed up in how the fans react to him. Like he is one of those players that when he steps on the ice, everybody in the building slides a little bit further ahead on their seat.
And in the second half, fans were repeatedly captivated by the talents of Alexei Yashin, who vaulted back into the league's top 10 scorers.
Alexei Yashin, here he comes, stops, shoots, scores! How about that? Just 42 seconds into overtime.
As of yesterday, the Senators just got a whole lot better, picking up two individuals, Mike Sillinger from the Florida Panthers and Curtis Lecision.
The city of Ottawa once again salivated for the chance to face Toronto in the playoffs, especially after beating them in all 5 regular season meetings. But the favored Senators fell victim to Matt Sundin in Game 1 and Curtis Joseph in Game 2.
It is 2-0 in games for Toronto, 3-0 the final.
And when the series shifted to Toronto, Ottawa was on the verge of being shut out for the 3rd straight game until the offense finally got on track late in regulation.
Hossa is coming in on goal, right in, scores! It is 2-1, and they are back in it. That was a great effort. And there's Alfredson. Alfredson now getting a shot. Score! The Ottawa Senators have tied the game. Ottawa gets something going. Tying the game with 36 seconds remaining.
But that was as close as Ottawa would come. Corey Cross scored in overtime to give the Leafs a 3-0 series lead. And when Toronto took command in Game 4, Ottawa was handed its 3rd straight opening round loss.
Well, the Leafs have dominated the playoffs like Ottawa dominated the 5 regular season games.
With the Senators' recent postseason struggles, some observers have lobbied for wholesale changes.
I think it would be folly to say that we're going to dismantle this and start from scratch again. In my view, I know we're close.
But in order to go forward, the Sens decided to part company with Alexei Yashin, shipping him to the New York Islanders in a draft day blockbuster. Coming to Ottawa, rugged 6'9" defenseman Zdeno Chara, forward Bill McCult, and the number 2 pick overall, which Ottawa used to select the highly touted Jason Spezza.
And now there's a different focus for the people in Ottawa. They don't have to focus on what happened in the playoffs. They can look to the team moving on with Alexei Yashin and bringing in a great young prospect in Jason Spezza. This kid can score goals, and the Ottawa Senators need that. I think he's a real nice fit for that team.
The 84-year history of the National Hockey League is filled with teams who became champions only after experiencing the bitter taste of disappointment.
He scores! Bob Nystrom scores the goal! The Islanders win the Stanley Cup!
In hockey, championship teams are built with patience and perseverance. If the Ottawa Senators are to join that list of champions, the building blocks will be no different. They've followed the blueprint so far, building through the draft, savoring their first tastes of success, and suffering the aftermath.
Over time, all young teams have experienced disappointments, especially in the playoffs, and this organization continues to draft well. And I think that there's a real commitment on the part of the organization to be more successful in the playoffs, and certainly I think a commitment ultimately to try and win a Stanley Cup. I believe that we have a very strong opportunity in front of us, and I believe that that opportunity is there to win the Stanley Cup.
There's only better things to come in the future, and if I was an Ottawa Senator fan, I wouldn't want to miss those things.
10 years ago, 3 men had a vision: Bruce Firestone, Cyril Eder, and Randy Sexton, the Three Amigos. They had a mission to bring hockey back to Ottawa and put the nation's capital back on the sports map. Against all odds, the Senators succeeded. They not only reignited a passionate fan base, they became part of the very fabric of Canada's capital city.
This place is nuts. This is great stuff. Great atmosphere here in Ottawa.
If you travel anywhere throughout North America, through Europe or wherever, obviously everybody knows Ottawa now, and part of it's from the Ottawa Senators.
This is the city that those of us who live here are very proud of. And NHL hockey made us first class. We were world class. God, you know, we could go out and show the world that this was a capital that was very special.
Listen to them. In this town.
I remember having a discussion with a potential investor, and he said to me, "Randy, I don't care if I ever get a nickel of return on this investment, but I have to tell you, the reason I'm doing it is I'm so tired of traveling to other parts of the world, and people ask me where I'm from, and I say Ottawa, and they have no idea where it is." He said, "I took my winter vacation this year, and I was laying by the pool in Florida, and somebody asked me where I was from. He said, I'm from Ottawa, and he said, oh, the Senators." And he smiled from ear to ear.
And the fans have been just terrific in this building. When you talk to the players, the one thing they always talk about is how well they have played in this building, and they played well because of the support that comes from those bleachers.
To see your own team on the ice, from your own, for me, I grew up in the Ottawa area. For my hometown to have an NHL team was something.
Young boys who dreamed of playing in the NHL now had an NHL team.
You know, there was never an NHL team when I was a young kid here. I had the 67s and I had the Central Junior teams, so the Montreal Canadiens were my team. And I think now, for young kids growing up, they have their own NHL hockey team right here in their own backyard, and I think that's pretty special.
Tries to steal from him, dishes it off. Here's Dockle moving in, backhander, scores! Sean McEachern!
Follows through and sets up Pearson, throwing in, scores!
Duck still has it, turns, fires, score! Billington. What a goal for Andreas Johansson.
Redden down low, box, Hossa hits shot, scores! On the power play, Marian Hossa.
Here's Radek Bonk. He's on a breakaway against Spear. Shoots, scores! Havlat back, running York. Havlat, the